Good afternoon to you all. We are going to be looking at English Home Language Paper 1. We are going to discuss the possibilities of what we were given yesterday as the May-June 2025 examination. This was the 70-mark paper, which is usually packed at 2 hours, and therefore we are going to see what we were given and try and revise and gain more knowledge when it comes to instilling the language paper in ourselves in preparation as well for the prelims and the finals. When we look at what we were given yesterday, we have the same instructions that always come in for us, and therefore it is a need for us to instill in learners to say, make sure that you understand your instructions. When we are saying read all the instructions carefully, we are instilling in you the habit of saying, please make sure that you drill yourself to say you must answer all the questions. You must start each section on a new page, which is not usually done. You must rule off after each section. We're having challenges with that because there is no ruling off done. We must number the answers correctly according to the numbering system used in the question paper. Leave a line after each answer is ignored sometimes. Pay special attention to spelling and sentence construction. And the suggested time allocation for our 3 sections is Section A, which is the comprehension, 30 marks. Section B, which is the summary, 10 marks for 30 minutes. And then Section C, which is the language structures for 30 marks, is usually done in 40 minutes. Please, let's try and revise the instructions, the instructions, and make sure that we do them right. Write neatly and legibly. Whatever you must write must be read so that it can be marked. This is the comprehension that we were given yesterday, and I believe one of the things is we are getting a new trend in the comprehensions. Something becomes familiar with us, and as a result, it means that the comprehensions are now accommodating everyone. The topic that was given is hitchhiking, the alternative form of transport that nobody uses. Now, this is something very relevant to us because this is something that we do and that we are instilled not to do as we're growing up. And as a result, the article was based on that. This is by Adam Weymouth, and as a result, let's look at what we are given without wasting any time. Petrol prices and youth unemployment are on the rise. So why are people not thumbing it? A recent survey published by the Automobile Association AA found that only 9% of drivers will be likely to pick up a hitchhiker compared to 25% 2 years ago. Yet, while it is true that there are fewer of us thumbing on the roads than there used to be, in my many years of hitchhiking, I've never once been left stranded. Last week, I hitched a lift for a 2-hour drive and chatted with a technician about economic wars, encouraged someone to take to the road themselves, and had the lecture on how to make my own diesel from potato fat. There are not many forms of transport where one can find such conversation, but regardless of this pleasure, hitchhiking should be thriving. With increasing petrol prices, people struggling to make ends meet, record high youth unemployment, and an urgent need to cut carbon emissions, a revival of hitchhiking seems to be long overdue. It has happened in other countries. Part of Cuba's solution to its oil crisis was a boom in hitching. In the 80s, a rash of horror movies is partly credited with the demise of hitchhiking. The best known is The Hitcher, starring Rutger Hauer as a psychotic and motiveless hitchhiker pursuing a suitably tight-jeaned and windswept young man. It is his very lack of motive that makes him terrifying. The idea is that strangers are unknowable. You cannot risk trusting them because you cannot understand them. But are we more scared of strangers than we used to be? It seems more complex than that because hitchhiking is not dead, just woefully underpracticed. Perhaps the hitchhikers are more fearful of strangers than the drivers are. What if young adults, the supposedly tough and fearless 20-somethings, are too scared to relinquish their control? According to the AA, 93% of 18 to 24-year-olds surveyed have never hitched a ride. This is understandable from a generation that has grown up in a more controlled and ordered environment than any other generation. Perhaps we cannot bear uncertainty and see strangers less like bringers of joy and more like Rutger Hauer. Certainly, I am picked up less by young drivers than by anyone else, and not because young people are less likely to own cars. Undoubtedly, there is a risk of hitchhiking. Pretending otherwise is facile. However, hospitality can only be rendered risk-free by assessing one's guests carefully. We live in a world in which we attempt to control as much as possible. We do this perversely by destroying the things like a sense of community and openness to strangers that truly keep us safe. One should take precautions as one would with any travel. For example, hitchhiking with a friend, or only in the daytime, or only in countries where one speaks the language. But we should avoid living in a world where there is no trust in strangers and be mindful of the implications of creating such a world. During the Second World War, there was a boom of goodwill towards the servicemen and women hitching home on leave. The baton was taken up by the culture of the 60s, and those who had hitched through the wars now had cars and a debt to repay. Many of those who pick up hitchhikers were themselves hitchers in the 60s and 70s and are looking to reciprocate the hospitality shown to them. They were strangers once, and they now open their doors to the strangers of today. So the cycle continues for the moment. Yet I wonder, who will pick up the next generation of hitchhikers as they stand by the road for weeks on end with their signs dissolving in the rain? If this generation does not hitch, this cycle of hospitality slows to a halt, and fear of the stranger will know no bounds. Hitchhiking is not a dead art, but it may well be one generation away from extinction. This is not an intellectual argument, but a practical one. Stick out your thumb and see what happens. Take a car off the roads, save yourself some money, and give drivers the opportunity to show their hospitality. Hitch to work one day or accompany someone who has hitchhiked before. And if you're a driver, find a hitchhiker, stop and pick up a hitchhiker. Without beginning to cultivate a deep empathy for the stranger, and without learning to trust the unpredictable nature of the world, it will be hard to see what else humanity can achieve. That was our comprehension adapted from the ecologist.org. Facile is superficial, ignoring the complexities of an issue, and perversely is rebelliously or irrationally. Right, we are coming into our text B. Text B says, if you accept rides from strangers, let someone know where you're going, when you expect to get there, and that you have arrived safely. Carry a mobile phone and identification with you at all times. If you hitchhike, use roads that are heavily traveled. Always note the description of anyone who offers you a ride, including their vehicle. Share information about suspicious persons with the police. You could save a life. Trust your instincts. If someone makes you feel uncomfortable, don't get in. I want us to check the visual for a final time. The visual shows a female who's on an abandoned, lonely road and is hitching a ride. Thumbs up. It is. Okay. All right, let's go to the comprehension questions and try and see what we were supposed to might have done and the possibilities of what you could have said or could say as we are revising paper 1. Provide the meaning of the expression, thumbing it in paragraph 1. I believe it will be giving a signal using your thumb that you need a lift and signal it to a driver, I believe. So that's what we mean. I believe one of the things I've mentioned is a signal. That's something that's there. We are going to touch on a signal. All right. I believe I'm going to go with purple today. Okay. I'm going to talk about a signal using the thumb. To stop a car, to show you need a lift. So as a result, those are the things that we are touching on for thumbing it. What is indicated by the statistics in line 4 to 5? I believe in line 4 to 5, they mentioned the fact that 9% of drivers will be likely to pick up a hitchhiker compared to 25% 2 years ago. So we are talking about there has been a decline. I believe when we say 25% was the stats, but now we have 9%. There is a decline. in the number of vehicle drivers. The number of vehicle drivers offering a lift to hitchhikers. Offering a lift to hitchhikers. Okay, it was a 1 mark. Refer to lines 5 to 6. The media took this as clear-cut confirmation of the death of hitchhiking. I believe the stats is what we are referring to, that there was a decline from 25% to 9%. So if we're saying the media, I believe one of the things is, what does it do? The media now, it creates panic, creates an official assumption. I'll call it an official assumption. It's an official assumption of confirmation that hitchhiking is not being done. So as a result, what does it do? It means it also imprints on the hitchhikers that it's not being done anymore. So as such, that's why we say it creates an official assumption, and therefore people take what the media says as official, and as such, that's why it will become assumed as such. What comment is the writer making? So the media is making a declaration that will convince people that hitchhiking is not being done anymore or must not be done anymore. Explain why the writer has made reference to his experience of hitchhiking in paragraph 2. In paragraph 2, he gave us a beautiful explanation of the advice he was given and what he was told. He said, what is it? He says in paragraph 3, in paragraph 12, a recent survey published by the Automobile Association picked up a hitchhiker compared to 25% 2 years ago. The media took this as a clear-cut confirmation of the death of hitchhiking. He says, yet while it is true that there are few of us thumbing on the roads that there used to be, in my many years of hitching, I've never once been left stranded. This is what we're referring to. He says he has never once been left stranded. So when we are bringing in the issue of his experience, our question was, right, explain why the writer has made reference to his experience of hitchhiking in paragraph 2. I believe he's giving us a reality, a realistic example. Still exists, and he convinces. I believe it's assurance. I'm going to talk about assures readers. So his experience gives assurance, his experience gives confidence, convinces the reader as well. So any of those were applicable. Refer to paragraph 3 in your own words. Explain how hitchhiking can benefit society. I believe he mentioned, I'm going to take note next to that paragraph, the things they said in our own words. How can it benefit society? One of the things he says is, chatted with a technician about economic goals, encourage someone to take the road themselves, and at a lecture on how to make my own diesel. That's socialization. I'm seeing socialization there. There is socialization that is happening. There is socialization is happening. I'm also seeing exchange of valuable information, life lessons. I also saw with increasing petrol prices, people struggling to make ends meet. I believe it will be helping, which is humanity and humanitarian rights. humanitarian benefit is there. I'm also seeing carbon emissions. I believe it will be an environmental responsibility. So any of those were applicable. I believe what is happening is that we just needed 2 marks. So I believe I've mentioned socialization, exchange of life lessons, helping humanitarian benefits. I'm talking about environmental responsibility. 4 have been mentioned in our own words from that paragraph. You just needed 2. Okay, we move on to the next one where we have discuss the impact of the emotive adjectives like psychotic, motiveless, and unknowable on the reader. One of the things I believe it's they will alert the reader to become more careful. I believe alert the reader to be careful or to be cautious. And I believe so. At the end of the day, it means that we must be more responsible. And I believe it does instill fear as well. Fear of the unknown and possibilities that there may be danger. So as a result, I'll talk about alerting, instilling being careful and cautious in a reader. Refer to lines 26 to 28. That's our 1.7. What if Young suggests why the writer poses this rhetorical question? Let's go to lines 26 to 28 and see what they said. In lines 26 to 28, there we go. What if young adults, the supposedly tough and fearless 20-somethings, are too scared to relinquish their control? One of the things I believe it will cause reflection in the reader, calls for reflection, insightful thinking, ponder, on what could happen if they would decide to be carefree in their behavior. So as a result, during driving, so any of those will be applicable. It was a 2 mark, so as such, we had options there. All right, we go to the next one, which is referred to comment on whether the writer's views as presented in paragraph 5 are objective. One of the things that were mentioned in paragraph 5, I believe it's the issue of the AA 93% of 18 to 24-year-olds have never hitched a ride. So as a result, it means that it was only done by the older generation. So I believe if we're saying, are they objective? We can say they are. He's from a different generation. The statistics make it objective as well. So as a result, the new generation do not practice hitchhiking because it was done by the older generation. So as a result, trust, carefree behavior is not something that is in the younger generation, but was in the older generation. So the younger generation, according to the stats, is 93%. They will be very cautious. They are very careful, and as a result, they do not practice hitchhiking because of the fear of what could possibly happen there. So those are the things that we can mention. All right, it says hitchhiking is not a dead art, but it may well be one generation away from extinction. Critically discuss this assertion in the context of paragraph 7. In paragraph 7, I remember they talked about the World War, times of the World War, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, during the Second World War, there was a boom of goodwill. Right. So when we're coming in and they are saying it's not a dead art, but it may be one generation away, we are saying in the older generation from the Second World War, it was it was a baton being passed on, as he says. So as a result, from the 60s, it means that if you gave a lift to a soldier, the soldier, when the war was over, now had a car and therefore would go on the same route and make sure he pays his debt of being given a lift on that road. So it means it was a continuous habit and trend. So when we're coming in now, we are saying, unfortunately, nowadays, which is the modern generation, they are not practicing it. They do not hitchhike at all. And if they do not hitchhike at all, it means modernization has brought changes in drastic ways towards the behavior of one human to another. So as a result, trust hospitality no longer exists. So if hospitality was passed on before, but it is no longer being practiced now, there is no hospitality that will be forwarded to the next generation. So as a result, it means that hitchhiking ceases to exist or is drastically declining. Therefore, there will be nothing passed on to the next generation. It is there, but it is not being practiced regularly. So that's why it may be one generation away from extinction, because it will not be passed on. Trust, hospitality, drastic behaviors are pushing people not to hitchhike and not give anyone a lift because of distrust. So those are the things that we are seeing there in the context of paragraph 7. In your view, is the writing style of paragraph 8 effective? Substantiate your answer with reference to one example. One of the things I believe that if I'm not mistaken, let's confirm paragraph 8. One of the things I saw is he gave advice. This is not an intellectual argument, but a practical one. He says, stick out your thumb and see what happens. Take a car off the road, save yourself some money, and give drivers the opportunity to show their hospitality. Imperative verbs are used, commands. Hitchhike is giving the advice. So that's what he's doing. So as a result, he uses persuasive writing, and as a result, he's very commanding because he uses persuasive imperative verbs. Stick out, take a car, save yourself, give drivers, hitch to work, find a hitchhiker, stop, pick up a hitchhiker. So as a result, we will say it's persuasive, it's effective, because he's convincing us that it will be worth the benefit, and therefore we must be able to be willing to help out a stranger and try it out. I believe one of the things is he's persuading us and convincing us to try it out so that we can see the benefit, because he assures us it will be there. So as a result, that's what could have been said. Someone could have been said it's not persuasive because his experience will not be the same as anyone else's. And therefore, when he's pushing people to take hitchhiking, and therefore, what if it doesn't work out? So it can be not convincing and effective is because of the fear that exists in people that they will not hitchhike because of fear of being meeting psychotic passengers or drivers or any of those. So in these instances, it means you can agree or disagree basing on your logic of arguing to say, was it convincing or was it not convincing? So it's two ways. It can be effective as I've given, cannot be effective as I've substantiated as well. What atmosphere is created by the picture? I remember just minutes ago, we described it and said it's a young female who's on an abandoned road hitchhiking. One of the things is, I believe, it's an atmosphere of being uneasy. She's alone in a deserted area. Apprehension. So that's what I'm getting of standing in the middle of nowhere, and hitchhiking. And I believe one of the things is that it's very much apprehensive because it's a deserted road. It's in the middle of nowhere. So as a result, that makes it unsafe. Deserted road, so which means there is a question mark on safety. So that's what I'm seeing there. Choose the most appropriate response from the list of options. This ride may take you to a place you don't want to go is an example of, I believe it can be a metaphor. I'm seeing a metaphor there. Critically discuss the above expression. When I say metaphor, I think I'll say the ride may lead to I believe I'm answering 1.12 too, because that's the reasoning we're given. The right is compared to an unpleasant, undesirable ending. So it means it may lead to unexpected consequences or undesirable consequences. So that's why we have to critically discuss the above expression. When we say undesirable consequences or unexpected, the issue of being deserted, she's alone. So as a result, that's the critical discussion that we're bringing across to say, as a result, she can become a victim. It's unsafe. So that's a critical discussion that we're bringing in to say it can lead to unexpected or undesirable consequences for the young lady because she is vulnerable. She's on a deserted road. She's alone. She's unsafe, and she's she doesn't know whether she will be getting a person who will most probably be trustworthy, and as such, that's why she is in danger. Refer to paragraph 6 of text A and text B. Does text B reinforce the writer's point of view expressed in paragraph 6? Remember, this question falls under text B, so automatically we have to start with text B. One of the things that we are mentioning is that in text B, we are seeing a young lady is in a deserted road, alone, hitchhiking. Right. Which can be unsafe. This is reinforced by text A, paragraph 6, that stated, I believe one of the things they stated is that there is a risk in hitchhiking. So as a result, pretending otherwise could be ignoring the complexities of hitchhiking. That stated that there is a risk in hitchhiking. And I believe the other thing that it mentioned is that one must be cautious. Right. We are combining text A and text B and being very specific of what is the common denominator between text B and paragraph 6. We are seeing danger, caution out of the window as the lady goes and hitchhikes on a deserted road. So as a result, that is the risk that is being mentioned by paragraph 6. Right, we go to our summary. Text C discusses the value of living frugally. Summarize in your own words how people can adopt. That's our key question. How people can adopt a frugal lifestyle. All right. Let's see what we can say. Your summary must include 7 points and not exceed 90 words. You must write a fluent paragraph. Please, let's not confuse FAL with home language, because in this is Zulu FAL that you do in school, you are doing the summary in point form. In Afrikaans, you're doing it in point form. In Setswana, you're doing it in point form. But please, when we're coming to home language, do not translate that to us. We are a fluent paragraph and it must be fluent. So this is one of the things that we are struggling with in the classroom, whereby learners will want to do the point form summary. The unique world of frugal living is the title. Being frugal means using less. We want advice, nothing else. How people can adopt a frugal lifestyle. Okay. Being frugal means using less and performing many tiny tasks in a very inexpensive way to save more money, resources, and live a lower wastage lifestyle. It's also about choosing quality over quantity. For years, frugal ideas have been popular, and some people enjoy discovering how to save money and resources. It has sometimes been associated with the assumption that the frugal lifestyle is usually achieved cheaply. However, this is not the case. It is about taking the time to care for your products and assets properly so that they last long past the expiration date. Advice: how people can adopt a frugal lifestyle. People must choose quality over quantity. Definitely, we can't leave that out. They must choose quality over quantity. That's how they can adopt a frugal lifestyle. I believe that's something that starts off as a relevant point. It is about taking the time to care for your products and assets properly so that they last long past the expiration date. So as a result, that's something which is coming in as well. All right. In our new reality of recycling and upcycling, it is a better alternative to choose to keep valuable alternatives for charity or to recycle. That's where we are. Keep valuable items for charity or to recycle. There is a wealth of information on the internet about repurposing, recycling, and repairing things yourself, particularly in the do-it-yourself business. That is explanation. So we have the main point. Frugal living does not only focus on saving on material goods. Health is also an area to be explored. Going out every day to consume fast foods and junk food is neither frugal nor healthy. Home-cooked meals, I believe that's how you can maintain a frugal lifestyle, are more nourishing and less expensive. Planning meals and there we go, and grocery budgets can help you save a significant amount of money monthly. Whenever you can, try to freeze items that freeze well. There we go, so that you have less wastage. All right. So as a result, that's what we are taking today. Keeping an eye out for discounts or promotions is another popular money saving strategy. I believe we'll take the discounts or promotions. Buying in bulk is also relevant. All right. Means only buying what you need. That's exactly what we are taking. Unwanted goods can be sold online to make a few runs. That's something else. Carpooling means that more people become invested in saving. We had so many points. I believe these days they are giving us so many points and options, but remember you only need 7. If your commute is not too far, walking or cycling, that's frugal lifestyle. Frugal living does not imply being stingy, rather it entails being extremely prudent and observant about where and how you spend your money. We had so many points. Let's try and count them and see how many we heard. All right. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 points. So I'm seeing 12. You just needed 7 and you'll be fine. Remember, please use your connectors as much as possible. Furthermore, in the middle, finally, lastly, at the end, so that you can have fluency in your summary, can actually assist you to be fluent. Do not exceed the 90 words, please. We must make sure we write our word count at the end. Question 3 was analyzing advertising, and therefore study the advertisement text D and answer the set questions. All right. We have a couch and clothes on the street. It says, you see an abandoned chair on the street and you think it has the potential to be something beautiful. You see a homeless youth on the street and you think, don't make eye contact. Raising the roof, homeless youth have nothing but potential. Okay. All right. Refer to raising the roof. What is the meaning of the above expression? One of the things I believe that is coming out is it's not about the couch, it's about the homeless, which means it can be raising awareness, reaching out to people, finding solutions. Any of those would be applicable in this context because that's what it means. Explain how the expression is both literally and figuratively suitable in the context of the advertisement. Literally, I believe it is putting a roof over the homeless heads. So as a result, building for the homeless, providing shelter. That's the literal meaning of the expression. And then the figurative, I believe it will be taking part in the change to provide for the homeless, being responsible, and such. Those were the options that we had. It says, how does the font on the right-hand side reinforce the advertiser's message? I believe I saw bold font. Yep, it is bold font. And I believe we have a variation of font, bold at the top. So what does it do? One of the things I believe it will catch the reader's attention to the action that we do without hesitation. It said, you see an abandoned chair and you think it has the potential to be something beautiful, which means you take it instantly. So as a result, that's something we do without hesitation, which is forcing the reader to apply that to the homeless as well. We are not supposed to think twice. We must just assist and see a bigger picture in them, a potential that they can be able to do and excel as well, but they cannot at the moment because of circumstances. Is the visual image effective in conveying the message of the advertisement? I believe the image is of an abandoned chair and clothes that are put out on the streets for those who need them. They are valuable as they can be used again, worked on and made useful. Therefore, it links to the message that homeless children, if they can be given a chance as well, can become valuable. It means they can now also be worthwhile in society. So that's the link between the chair and the clothes as well as the homeless children. Just as they're in the street, they are worth something. And therefore, compared to that chair that we just take instantly without thinking twice. Provide a contextually correct synonym for the word abandoned. Okay. Forsaken. Okay. Cast aside. I believe that's what I'm getting at the back of my mind. What is the root word of potential? Potent. Okay. There we go. Let's go to question 4, which is our cartoon. Our cartoon says, Dennis the Menace, wrap it up. There's so many cool things in this catalog. I wish I could get them all. I'll bet you do. How about this one, Mrs. Wilson? That is colorful, dear, but also very expensive. So what? It's Christmas. Of all the... Goodbye, sweetheart. Bye. That greedy kid, all he knows is give me, give me, give me. For your information, he was picking a Christmas present for you. Here's your soup, George. I thought you'd like it cold. Maybe it will help you to chill out. Okay, Mrs. Wilson is the woman, the boy is Dennis, and the man is Mr. Wilson. Why is Mr. Wilson angry in frame 3? I believe he was listening to Dennis. And one of the things that caused his anger most probably will be he thinks Dennis is too demanding. I wish I could get them all. He thinks Dennis is too demanding and wants everything. Refer to frames 2, 5, and 7. Explain what is revealed about Mrs. Wilson's attitude towards Dennis. One of the things I saw is patience. She's very patient. She's very understanding. She's very supportive. One of the reasons why we say so is that she even encourages him to encourages him by looking at the catalog, looking through the catalog with him. So as a result, that will be very supportive, very patient, very understanding, and guides Dennis as well. So as a result, that's what the attitude becomes. The next question says, discuss, that is our 4.3, discuss Dennis's tone in frames 5 and 6. I believe one of the things he says, so what? It's Christmas. Very dismissive, very indifferent. As a result, when you say dismissive, is that he doesn't take consideration of the money. He's looking at what is there, and he believes the more expensive it is, the more beautiful and appropriate it is. So that will be why he's dismissive. With close reference to frame 9 and the cartoon as a whole, critically discuss how humor is conveyed. I believe I saw irony. Irony in the fact that Mr. Wilson was so judgmental. He thinks Dennis wants a lot of things for himself. And therefore, that's why he judges Dennis and is very and is showing an angry attitude towards Dennis. But the reality is that Dennis is choosing according to what he believes will be best for Mr. Wilson, and despite the money or the price of the tree. So that's the irony that I saw about Mr. Wilson. It revolves around Mr. Wilson and Dennis as well. Rewrite Dennis's words in frame 2 so that the sentence is grammatically correct. I believe one of the things he says is cool. There's so many cool things in this catalog. I believe cool is an slang, so which means we have to write it correctly. There are so many impressive or exciting or awesome things in this catalog. So I believe impressive, exciting, awesome would replace cool there, and therefore it becomes formal, grammatically correct. Various options are provided as possible answers to the question below. Choose the correct answer and write only the letters A to D next to the question. Mrs. Wilson's statement in frame 8, written in indirect speech. Let's go to Mrs. Wilson's speech quickly. Here's your, for your information, he was picking a Christmas present for you. He was picking a Christmas present. And then it says, okay, Mrs. Wilson said to Mr. Wilson that Dennis had been picking a Christmas present for himself. No? Mrs. Wilson said to Mr. Wilson that Dennis was picking a Christmas present for him. Okay. I thought you'd like, for your own information, he was picking a Christmas present. He was picking a Christmas. Okay, let's continue. Mrs. Wilson said to Mr. Wilson that Dennis had been picking a Christmas present for him. Mrs. Wilson say to Mr. Wilson that Dennis had picked a Christmas present for you. Okay. Okay. Our options are definitely between B and D. Was picking, had picked. Which one do we fall for now? Mrs. Wilson. It was, he had picked a Christmas present. It's D. He had picked a Christmas present for you. Dennis had picked a Christmas present. Had been picking a Christmas present for him. It's C. It's definitely C, had been, because our tense has to change. So we take it to had been picking a Christmas present for him. Okay. All right. Text F, how is tipping culture? It says, in the city changed. A few Decembers ago, a heartwarming trend emerged where patrons challenge each other to tip double their bill to give waiters a Christmas bonus. Since then, COVID-19, along with rising inflation, has seen a change in tipping culture. While patrons say their regulars religiously and faithfully tip the regulated 10% or more in a generous mood, others simply don't tip at all. A number of establishments have now introduced the practice of waiters sharing their tips with the kitchen and cleaning staff. While waiters now earn a basic wage supplemented by tips they receive, many waiters say they keep their basic wage for rainy days when tips run dry. Snetemba Kwala, a waitress, said the more experienced you are, the better. You are able to serve many tables at once and correctly, which helps you to get good tips, and you will find your customers come back and ask for you. Wendy Alberts, the CEO of Restaurants Association of South Africa, RASA, said the restaurant industry is well supported and good tips are dependent on good service. Okay. Refer to line 1 to 2. A few Decembers ago, a heartwarming trend emerged where patrons challenge each other to tip double their bill to give waiters a Christmas bonus. Identify the part of speech of heartwarming. It's an adjective. Describes the trend. Provide the verb form of patron. Patronize. It's definitely patronize. Why can the above sentence be classified as a complex sentence? We have a dependent clause and an independent clause, definitely. And we also have a subordinate conjunction, I believe. All right. Provide the subordinate conjunction is where. Right. Provide the function of the dashes in line 4 to 5. While waiters say they are regulars religiously and faithfully tip the regulated 10% or more, if in a generous mode, it's additional information. Remove the redundancy in paragraph 2. Where was the redundancy? Let's see. While waiters say they are regulars religiously and faithfully, there we go. That's our redundancy. We only have to use one. It's either we'll use religiously or faithfully, but not both at the same time. What does the idiomatic expression rainy days mean in context? Rainy days, I believe, when the business is quiet and they don't have much customers, that's what we would mean. Supply the prefix required to form the antonym of experienced. Inexperienced, without fail. Inexperienced. Which helps you to get good tips. Explain how the above clause creates ambiguity, which helps you to get good tips. Believe ambiguity is what is exactly providing the tips. Is it you or the service? Which helps you to get good tips. What is helping you to get good tips? So, okay. So the ambiguity is in what is exactly providing the tips. Write out the CEO in full. Chief Executive Officer. Okay. We are definitely having a trend of, I think I will mention now the things that we are saying we are getting is coming in constantly in the paper. I'll just write it here. I believe I'll talk about direct, indirect speech. This has been popping up without fail. We didn't have passive voice in our June. I believe we had the parts of speech. I believe we had the ambiguity and redundancy. Ambiguity. I believe we had the, what did we have? Synonyms, antonyms. This time there was the antonym. We have the antonym here. And I believe we also had the root words. We did have the synonym in question 3, so it was there. They brought both synonym and antonym, so they were there. Root word, I believe, was also coming in. So we had idiomatic expressions this time coming 3 times in the paper. So as a result, we are now looking at contents of the paper, and if we seal these ones, it means you're able to revise and move on to the next page to say, I'm building up my language skills. And as a result, that's how we revise. That's how we do these videos for you to have an easy starting methodology of saying, what do I know? I know this now because we've gone through it. What do I not know? Let me go now to what I don't know, so that when it comes, I'm able to deal with anything. So as a result, let's try and build up our foundation of knowledge and say, we pile up so that we are able to cope with whatever comes. And it means by the end of the year, we'll know a whole lot of things to say, I started off with this batch, I move on to the next batch. Next time you move on to malapropism, you move on to those other things. And as a result, it means that you will seal in your language structures. A good studying to you all, and I hope you benefited from the session. Dr. Saidi, our gratitude goes to you for giving us a platform to always be able to internalize the exam and the structure of the papers and try and revise in the comfort of our homes. Good day to all grade 12s, and happy studying to you all.